So I just wanted to go back to the process for FCSD and PDD a little bit more. So this past summer, we saw a bit of a slowdown in the approval process for FCSD and PDD. Certainly heard from a few of my constituents on this, as well as a family member. And just curious what the reasons were for that slowdown and how we've worked to address that in this budget. Obviously, we know with families impacted by this that a timely response is pretty critical.
And I know that you and I have had some conversations about this in regards to how it impacted your constituents, and so I'm glad that you did come to me to let me know, because we did take immediate action as well, and you weren't the only one. We heard from other MLAs as well. So again, funding and eligibility did not change. However, over the summer, the FSED and PDD programs, we were looking at an improved process to ensure consistent and very thorough decision making. And so as a result of that, there was a little bit of a slowdown, but again, it had no impact on program eligibility or services provided. And when I became aware that there was a slowdown, we took immediate action, and my staff worked quite diligently to address any delays as a result of the process. And I do recognize it was a challenging time for families, and certainly I personally also made a very concerted effort to encourage families and individuals who are impacted to contact the ministry and department to see if we could, to see how we could help them in a more expedient fashion. And on that note, as always, I would encourage families and individuals with questions to speak with their caseworkers, as well as to get in touch with the department if they have any questions.
Awesome. Thank you for addressing that for us. And switching gears just a little bit here, as you know, I have SCOPE and URSA Disability Action Hall in my constituency.
Right.
And it's pretty awesome to be able to represent some amazing organizations like them. And just curious, kind of following up on a question that was asked earlier, but how are you working to ensure the disabled community is involved in developing any long-term solutions to make programs more sustainable?
And another really good question, because it's important to have the voices of those who have lived experience and self-advocates to have their perspective as well, to help advise myself as we go forward. So ongoing consultation and collaboration will help us balance efficiency with care and service for vulnerable Albertans. And as I'd mentioned, we will engage the disability community on all issues that matter to them. And that will happen through the Premier's Council on the Status of Persons with Developmental Disabilities, the FSED Provincial and Regional Parent Advisory Committees, and of course the Provincial Advocate for Persons with Disabilities. And it's important to make sure that we liaise and engage with all of these bodies, because these groups do know best what their communities need, and they can provide very important insight into both the FSED program and the PDD program. And I'll give you an example. The FSED Provincial and Regional Parent Advisory Committees are made of parents and guardians of children with disabilities, and they interact directly with the system. So they know the system, and they would have good insight and good feedback to offer. And in addition to that, we'll also engage diverse stakeholders in the disability community through the two new groups that I've created. The Disability Advisory Forum, which had its first meeting this past fall. Again, this group helps government gain insight and perspective on specific disability-related topics. And the Service Provider Partnership Committee brings together members of the Alberta Council of Disability Services, and that's a leading network of agencies across Alberta to talk about how we can reduce red tape and administrative challenges so that we can better serve Albertans. And I'm quite confident that with the support of these dedicated individuals, families, and advocates across the province, that we'll be able to look at what changes need to be implemented to ensure that, we have enhanced efficiency and effectiveness in our disability service programs.
Awesome. Thank you very much. So, and I know you've already been out traveling the province and connecting and doing all that great work to connect with our civil society partners as discussed. And I think one of the good examples of that is the inclusion of the low-income transit pass, and certainly the Disability Action Hall advocated pretty hard for that, and other constituents. So I think that's great to see that in this budget and continuing with that. Thank you. Overall funding for disability services has increased, which is great to see, according to page 52 of the government estimates. However, persons with developmental disabilities direct operations was reduced by $4 million compared to 2018-2019 actuals. Can you tell us a little bit about the reason for this decrease?
Yes. So first, I'd like to say that I'm pleased to say that the program is serving approximately 98% of PDD clients in community living. And that's the PDD program. And PDD supports to Albertans, as you had mentioned, has been increased by $50 million as compared to the 2018-19 actuals. And we're making sure that individuals receiving PDD supports have the services that they need. And we acknowledge that caseload growth is a key driver. According to page 2 of our fiscal plan, we've indicated that caseloads have grown by 14% for this program. And if you compare that to population growth at which is just over 5%, I mean, there's quite the discrepancy there. Out of the 12,800 Albertans that we serve under PDD, only 2% of those clients receive services through government-operated residential facilities, so direct operations. And the budget, which supports these facilities, is $43 million, and that's a reduction of $4 million, as you had indicated, compared to the 2018-19 actuals. And we expect fewer clients will live in residential facilities and will instead live in the community with families or in homes operated by local service providers. And people pass on as well. So we are seeing less clients living in these facilities, like the Michener Centre, for example. And so it's very much a continuation of the trend that we've seen over the last few years.
Thank you. I actually got a little emotional about that. I think just helping people to get involved and be included in community and part of our community and not separate. It needs to be an initiative that we need to continue to push for, and all people. And so, no, I appreciate that that's the trend, and looking forward to continuing to see efforts towards that end. That said, in 2014, the government of the day reversed its decision and committed to keeping the Michener Centre, a residential facility in Red Deer. Wondering if we're going to maintain that commitment to keep the Michener Centre open.
Thank you for that question. It's a very important question. So our government is committed to maintaining operations for the remaining residents of the Michener Centre in Red Deer, and we recognize that in 2014 the government did commit to residents that it would stay open, and of course we'll honor that promise. All the residents who live there right now will live out their remaining years there or move into community if they choose to do so. And they'll continue to receive the same high standard of care. Currently, there's 18 group and 3 facility-style homes on site as Michener, and I was very fortunate that I had the opportunity to go on site and visit. And in addition to what I just mentioned, there's also 2 group homes in the community.
Awesome. Thank you very much. So kind of continue down that inclusion path, and just again recognizing the importance of helping all people to be able to connect into community and be included in community. Just curious what support, what we're doing to support individuals who will be moving from residential facilities into our communities.
If you look at Objective 2.9 in our business plan, it does commit to supporting people with disabilities to participate in community life and for families to promote the development of their children with disabilities. So that clearly speaks to our government's values. Regional service delivery staff in my ministry.
Okay, thank you, Minister.